and also recording is also. Okay, so I don't know about you, but for me, it's kind of like now it's 5 p.m. Central European time. I have been working with my laptop the whole day. So just get yourself like stretch a little bit the neck and the shoulders, also the fingers. I don't know if you work with your laptops, but fingers are also important because you're like typing all the time. I don't know, it's like, just like get a little bit to the mood. And since we will need to wait for a couple of minutes, so everyone is finding the confirmation email in their email inbox and like find the Zoom link to get here. I want to do a little bit of icebreaker. So we get to know each other a little bit. So if you haven't been able to rename yourselves, put your name as participant. And then also I want to start using the chat if you don't mind. And why do we need the chat? Because I want to see which team of people are you. So I want to start asking you like a couple of questions and see like, what do you choose? Okay, you're gonna get it like right away. So please use the chat and answer if you're a dog or a cat person. I want to see in the chat, like, which team are you? Oh my God, there are so many. Oh, there's the mouse, okay. Okay. Dog, cats, okay. Do you prefer the pizza with pineapple or without pineapple? If there's anyone Italian, please don't kill me. This is like a peace zone or peace room. Oh, poplar bear. I don't know what is a poplar bear. There's one Italian around that I know. Please, Mauro, don't kill me after this meeting. With pineapple, nice. Okay, so this is a complicated question. Do you put the water before or after the toothpaste? That's a tricky one. Before, after, oh, there's a lot of people before the toothpaste. Or if there's anyone that doesn't put water when brushing their teeth. Sometimes no water, oh, I see it. Lions, after, before. No water is better than to say. It's not the first time that I see it. That's why I wanted to make the remark. Sometimes vodka, okay. I hope this is like more like a night routine and not a morning routine. Nice, dog and cat on the beat. Oof. Okay, that's getting a little bit crazy. This question before we start, are you a mountain person or a beach person? I like it. There's a lot of like both. Nice. Thank you very much for like collaborating. I thought I would stay alone and like no one would answer my questions. Okay, so it's 5:05. I hope that everyone that was looking for their confirmation email found it and were able to join us. So I'm gonna just share with you a little bit the flow of this workshop. So first, I'm gonna give you the floor to Alina, who is the representative of YMCA Romania and coordinators of Always On for Youth. And then also to Diliana, who is representative of Nadezhda, and who is also partner organization in Bulgaria of this project. And they will brief you a little bit about what's the project about and also some findings of the project that we already have. Afterwards, I will pass the floor to our speaker, Marcus, and he is going to do a presentation, and then we will have a space for a Q&A session. So if this sounds good for you, Alina, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Julia. Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to see all your faces. Thank you for joining today. I'm Alina. I'm the CEO of YMCA Romania. YMCA Romania, who is the main beneficiary of the K2 project that we are all now part of in this event. A K2 project that means Strategic Partnership on Youth. an innovative project that came up last April, when the pandemic, would say, it was at the beginning, and we saw the big need at the grassroots on how we as youth workers, how we as youth organizations need to deal and need to find new approaches in order to reach our young people who needs us, how to support them to go through what was going on, but also how to give the specific interventions that they need on personal and professional level. So we embarked in this journey together with another Romanian local organization, Young Initiative, with our friends from Bulgaria, Nadezhda, and with our friends from two European umbrella networks, CCIVS and YMCA Europe. And our purpose was, and it's still very, very clear and very simple, to help youth organizations and youth workers to be better equipped to serve the young people, including vulnerable people, through digital environments. And how we want to do this? By creating a collaborative learning space in which we learn from each other, but not only from our 5 organizations, but together with you, specialists and experts from all over Europe, to share, learn, test, and create new tools that really serve us as professionals and us as organizations. We embarked for a 25 months project. We are in the first 8 months, and we are still, we say, at the beginning, because the best is yet to come, as we say, as the work that needs to be done is ahead of us, and together we would like to do it together, because the entire project is based on co-creation with you, youth workers, organizations, and teachers who'd like to apply in the classes some tools, some findings from the digital youth work. This second event is created in our platform that we created in the project, which is called Digital Youth Work Community of Learning, and Diliana will share with you immediately some details about how you can join this community, a community that will be shoulder to shoulder with us, the project team, in order to create the 3 intellectual output that we foreseen in order to help in our work. First, we are now we are working on a research called Shaping Digital Inclusion and Safety in the Post-Pandemic World. We are interviewing 250 youth workers from all over Europe and 250 young people from all over Europe in order to find out and identify the emerging trends brought by the pandemic, to actually see how we see digital inclusion, what needs to be done in order to be safe in online environment, and how we can take care of our well-being. Then 2 tools will be developed, also based on the findings, that will serve the youth workers and organizations in order to tackle those topics. So a MOOC course on digital safety and digital inclusion will be developed, and gamification tools. More than that, of course, we love training, so we will offer It's very interesting. Hopefully we will offer an offline training about online youth work, a training that will take place next year in Bulgaria. And we want to break a little bit the traditional boundaries of a training to be more also sharing and a safe space, not only a learning and more one-way directed thing, but also a collaborative in which we can share our problems and find solutions. Our websites, you can find more and more information about what we are doing. We are grassroots organizations, the five of us. So we are very eager to see how we can make our lives as professionals better and the lives of organization more sustainable, and prepare ourselves for challenging times as we are learning from this experience. And, we leave you with a thought in which we believe very much. As we create light for others, as youth workers, we create context and to young people to transformative context. We naturally light our own way, so we gain a lot more also for ourselves as professionals and on a personal level. Thank you so much. If you have questions, please write them in the chat or write to us. Thank you so much. Thank you, Julia.
Thank you, Alina. So I guess now I can pass the floor also to Liliana.
Yes, hello everyone. Happy to see you here. A lot of people and a lot of smiling faces. Thank you for joining and thank you for being active.
Ca să vedem să mai luăm din...
Having this a big responsibility to manage the digital youth work community of learning. This is one in our project, which is quite challenging, but also quite interesting for me personally. This is something I was thinking about in the last days, that in the last years, I've been engaged in building communities. And this is really exciting for me because people seems to be bringing a huge value, added value. This is opportunity where people can create a space where they can learn, share, discuss, or shape it the way they like it and the way they need it. I think this is very important because when you have a space where youth workers can share their practices, their stories, they're learning about tools and methods, something can also a very good value to the organizations, not only on a personal level of the person, but also on the organizational level. And what we are doing here in the digital youth work community is exactly this. This is a European network, which is dedicated especially to youth workers like you, who are willing to learn more about digital youth work. This is the general topic. And of course, very emerging topics like digital safety and digital inclusion. What we thought of this network is a very interesting living body when which we can refer as a big knowledge of people who are willing to join a co-creation of different sessions in the different project stages. And one of them that I want very briefly to present is happening now. This is the research called Shaping Digital Inclusion and Safety in Post-Pandemic World. What we were aiming with this research is to contributes to shaping the digital inclusion and showcasing the emerging trends which were brought by, unfortunately, by COVID-19 in the field. I know everybody is very challenged on this topic nowadays, but what are the main outcomes we have found already? One of the main stress points is how to create awareness about the risks and how to use digital media. Some organization has already created some procedures about digital safety and well-being. Some of them share that they want to create a space of trust where people feel comfortable in this process. A very big issue is the mental health. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a topic that we will discuss in details in the next stages. What we realized is that we are approaching also a hybrid aspects of our work, using digital youth work more and more in our live activities. And of course, very many questions have been raised during this research, and all of them are very important. I suppose that we will be able to discuss them all together in the next event, hopefully, because this is the second event that we are organizing, and hopefully we will have a bit more in the next year on different topics. And with this, I would like to invite you to engage also in different activities, like filling out some questionnaires that we will be happy if you also contribute like this, like professionals, with your personal and professional overview. So thank you very much. I will not waste much more time, because I know that you came here to speak about the non-formal education and how it was transferred to online. And thank our speaker today for his willingness to share his experience and open a big discussions together. So let's give the floor to Mr. Marcus Vrecer. He's a very nice person, a friend of mine, and I'm really happy that we are sharing this time together.
Thank you very much, Didi. Or Julia, you want to take the floor first?
Yeah, I think I'm going to take the floor first, and I want to see all these participants, if they can give me a sign. Are you alive? Are you like still listening to us? Are you like making the shopping list for Friday already? Like, I want to see like if there are like any thumbs up going around, any hearts. Like, I need to see if you are still alive, or like you need something. Perfect. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna introduce you to Marcus. So Marcus has been involved in youth work since 1992 and an active as a trainer since 1995. People say he's no bullshit trainer, always finding concise and clear words, and always having the maximum benefit of the learners as the main guiding principle. For 9 years, he occupied different roles with the organization Grenzenlos, also known as ICYE Austria. And in 2014, he co-founded and currently is a board member of the International Youth Work Trainer Guild. He believes in positive change, the empowerment of individuals, strengthening civil society, and a better world. So before I give you the floor, Marcus, I need to ask you, which type of pizza do you eat? Do you eat it with pineapple, without pineapple? Are you a beach or a mountain person? Please, you have to answer for everyone these questions.
Sure. And I just had a learning point. Never underestimate when somebody invites you and they do their homework, because you did a background search on me. And apparently that's from my toy profile that's 4 years old or something. So well done. I'm not a board member anymore of this guild, but well done, well done. And, yeah, I should check what information is about me on the internet, obviously. About the pineapple. I have deep respect for Italian culture. So out of this, I respect when people prefer not to have it with pineapple. I find the taste is actually quite okay with pineapple. Even we have some sweet stuff in Central Europe. We eat sometimes sweet stuff as main plate or put jam on meat. So it's, for me, it's not weird. But out of respect for culture, I can refrain from it, of course. What was the other thing about mountains, right? Mountain
Yeah,
and sea?
mountain or sea. What do you prefer?
I would take any nature at the moment. I've been trapped in front of my laptop for many months, and any nature I could get, I would take at the moment, to be honest.
And I actually had another question, but it's not related to these ones. And I don't know if anyone else has realized, but Marcus has his name written with the M and the C as capital letters. And I need to know why the M and the C are in capital letters.
That's really an artifact from a past long ago, when I was also MC. And then when you take the M and the C out of the Marcus, then you are left with Arus. And Arus was my nickname for a long time, MC Arus. And it's a kind reminder that my Marcus is not written the Germanic way, but the Latin way. So I kept it like this also. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you very much. So the floor is yours. So whenever you want.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you very much for the invitation indeed. Some of the questions that have been forwarded to me were also about tips and tricks in online meetings. So I will make a rather frontal presentation, but I will screen share quite some websites, and all these links that I will show today, and also a summary of what I'm telling today, will be sent to you by email from the organizers afterwards. But this is going to be quite a frontal blah blah now. However, one thing I sometimes do with people is, when it's a Zoom meeting, is to check in, to invite people to change the background, to change the virtual background, to express how they are feeling, or where they are connecting from. So for instance, I would take, for instance, this zombie apocalypse as background, because sometimes I really don't know anymore what's happening outside of my laptop, and I can just trust that what appears in my browser maps what's outside. But I can also take this one now as a reference to Austria, although the part that I'm from is not this mountain Jolareti, Austria, but I'm from the east. We have industry. I live very close to the airport, which was practical when I still worked with lots of mobility, but now I work from home, and yeah, I see a lot of industry from my window. I always tell people it looks a bit like a Pink Floyd album cover, what I see from outside my window. So feel free to change your background to check in and show how you're feeling or where you're connecting from. What's on the menu today? I can also quickly post this in the chat. I will try to keep it then to 25 minutes or so there's still some time for Q&A. So I would just start a little bit about with intro with the context. So from which perspective am I talking today, which is the international youth work training and non-formal education. I prepared a little collection of possibly interesting resources that come from the community. So spaces, resources from the community. And then to tell a little bit about some of the lessons learned I've observed in some of the reaction of the international youth work training field on this need for a new way of working due to COVID. I mean, online and digital work has always been around, but it got boosted because of the situation, because of restrictions on international mobility, because of restrictions of not being able to meet often, even in lockdowns. So how did the community react to this need and this pressure? And if there's still some time, we can share some memorable moments. And I also have some things that are still open questions for me in the future of digital and online youth work and youth work training. And of course, questions from the audience. So why do I talk about this topic? What's my background? I'm, as many people involved in youth work, I'm a product of youth work myself. When I was 18, I went abroad. I went away to Latin America for a year to do voluntary service there. It was not funded back then. There was no EVS or Solidarity Corps, so it was a privately funded program. And I loved it. And since then, I always stayed in this field of international youth work, international volunteering, learning mobilities. That's where I've stayed ever since. And because of the reality of the market, it has had a big focus for me on the European context, simply because of the opportunities that are here from European Commission, so things like Erasmus programs, Solidarity Corps, or Council of Europe opportunities. But my heart is still with the worldwide dimension. So deep inside, I'm a hippie. The motto of the organization I went abroad with was "Together for a Better World." And yeah, we just have one planet, we're one family. And the idea would be that we take care of the planet and everybody can live in dignity and peace. That's the big picture motivation for me behind. But the field that I'm talking about is non-formal education. So the training part in this international youth work is mainly based on non-formal education and learning mobilities. So it's mostly the field that I am aware of, or that the bubble I am in, so to say, is when we deal with non-formal education, learning mobilities, and mostly in my case, working with multipliers, not working directly with young people, but working with people who work with young people. So training youth workers, training municipality workers, training people working in NGOs, etc., etc. And one big, some things that have always been important for me are community and quality and support and cooperation. And out of this spirit, and here I can share it for the first time, out of this spirit, some years ago, yeah, we thought, okay, trainers together strong. We thought, why should trainers not maybe unite? Because for several reasons. Maybe you have observed that many people call themselves trainers. Now everybody can be a trainer, but the quality you get can be quite varying if it's about international activities. So we thought with some colleagues, we thought there is a need for a bit of standardization. Yeah, what could be quality criteria? What could be educational pathways for trainers? What could be a code of conduct? How can trainers also support each other and lobby and advocate for the sector? And with this, colleagues of mine and me together, we founded in 2015 the International Youth Work Trainers Guild. It has been around now for 5-6 years. And it is a community of practice of trainers who commit to a pledge, to commit to quality, to peer support, etc. So this is, for instance, the pledge that members would commit to. And so when the pandemic started, there were many international youth work trainers, not just from the Guild, also all around, many other colleagues in the same boat, that all of a sudden there is restriction on international mobility, there is restriction on meetings. So how can international youth work training still go on? And of course, then it was a time to explore possible online hybrid alternatives. And the community, before I give a bit of my impressions of how the community reacted and what was learned, I want to share some of the places that I can recommend from the community. And there's many, but some of them that I often use and that I find inspiring, and all the links will be shared with you. So one thing is that we asked, this was in 2020 still, we asked trainers who took the challenge of moving online with because in the beginning it was like residential activities had been planned, and now what to do? Postpone them, cancel them, or move them online, transform them. So many took the challenge of going online. It was often called non-formal education, non-formal learning going online. And we collected a couple of testimonies from trainers who did it, and what were the lessons learned. So with this link that will be shared with you, you can find many stories. We made 5 blog entries on this of how trainers went online and what were their experiences. Yeah, what lessons learned, what practices can they share, etc. Then also there was a political dimension to it, because policy needed to react fast. So trainers were ready to go online, but what about the conditions? So what about funding? What about policy, etc.? So we launched an initiative, we launched a petition aimed mainly at policy making about how to react then to the impact of COVID-19 on international youth work mobility. So we are ready to explore, to not just say, oh, it's such a restriction, but what can we make good out of it? What are the opportunities in here? But we need some flexibility with it. And if funders, for example, only say, well, if it's online, we only give you 10% because you don't need anything for food and travel and accommodation, then simply it's not true, because making online learning activities is another reality. It's not just cutting the residential part, but another way of doing it. So other things are needed, resource production, other people in the team, equipment, etc. So this petition was launched, and we were often then invited to consultation on the new creation, for instance, of the new program, Erasmus program, or the competence models for trainers, etc. But of course, policymaking advocacy is a slow process. Then a Facebook group. Here is a Facebook group for international youth work trainers. It's not to find project, post-project, it's a place of support. And it's nothing, it's offered by the Guild, but nobody needs to be a member of the Guild. You see, it has 1.7 thousand members. And here people simply share resources, consult issues, ask questions, present good practices, etc. So this is a place I often use when it's about consulting with people, looking for resources, etc. Another place, and actually here in the meeting, we also have Mark Taylor with us, who's one of the initiators of this place, was, hey, non-formal learning goes online. So how to do this? So this is a place specifically for this, for trainers in non-formal education or people concerned, practitioners of non-formal learning. And what about going online? What's the possible online dimension of this? So again, community support, sharing of practices, information, etc. Finally, this comes from Salto, but I find it really useful. It's the Hop online learning platform. So in the Erasmus and Solidarity Core network, they found their way and standard, so to say, platform for online activities that's based on Moodle, and they promote it. But here on this platform, you find a lot more. Here's really very often to the point, good resources and tips and tricks, interesting articles, also from other sectors. So maybe coming from academic sector, maybe coming from business sector, often very inspiring resources. And last thing to show is that also one member of the community made a research. So of course, Commission also made research and other institutions, but here this was the initiative from one trainer and researcher who made one of the first researches on what was actually the impact of the pandemic on youth work. And he made very nice summary of it, and it's very interesting to read. Yeah, these were some first, more will come later, but some of the places and resources I find useful that come from the community when it's about international youth work training, non-formal education, how to move online, where to find support, where to find resources. Now, maybe a bit about how the community reacted and what happened. Well, first, there was, of course, a shock, what to do. And people asked each other, hey, what about practices? What experiences do you have? And in the beginning, I found a lot of focus on tools and equipment. So what many trainers thought about first is like, okay, so what are the best tools? But of course, tools do not solve everything. But people didn't even know this, because before it was just some of us who, yes, oh, these are the guys who love online work and digital work. And most of us knew some online tools, but it was not such a big focus. And so many trainers and educators, practitioners of non-formal education were concerned with what tools are there, even what equipment, so what do I need? So, okay, and then they found out, okay, it makes sense maybe to invest a little bit into a webcam, into an external mic, into the background, because it's a total new culture. You are from home, you as a practitioner, but also your participants. So it's not like you go to a dedicated place of learning, but you are from home. It's another type of intimacy, another type of sharing. So what do you show also from your background? Do you want the green screen, or is it okay for people to actually have a look into your very private place if you cannot connect from an office? What do people see on the desktop of your laptop, etc.? So tools, equipment, and also spaces, online spaces. So if the space where learning takes place and youth takes place is not anymore a physical place, where is this place online? And then it depends very much on the target group where this is, because in work directly with young people, which, as I said, is not at all my specialty, people then start to think, okay, so do we now, where do we find young people? Where are the online spaces of young people? And then it was about, okay, so do we maybe need to have a look at Twitch, Discord, TikTok, etc. While as when you work with youth workers, there's other places and tools appropriate. And there were some discussions of, should we go there, or should we leave the place to young people? Like, leave them their space. Maybe it's a bit cringe if we go on TikTok as Generation X, and it's not really our place. But with places, online places, same as with physical places, it's also a bit of an evolutionary process. Who goes there and uses it, shapes it also. No? So beginning, a lot of focus on tools, equipment, etc. Then thinking and reflecting about formats. So the first impulse was, okay, so you need to go online. So I have my concept of a residential, a youth exchange, a training course, a conference, whatever. I move it online. Can I do the same just online? And then people will not know, of course not. You need to shape it very differently. You start first with seeing, can you even have the same objectives, or do you need to change the objectives of the whole learning intervention or meeting? And then what are the opportunities offered by an online or digital settings, and what is not so possible? And here on the formats, people then started to get a bit used also with terminologies and possibilities. So, okay, so there is, for instance, blended. It means there can be residential and online working together. Then there's hybrid. It's not the same like blended. Hybrid means some people are physically there, some people are online, and this happens at the same time. And then about all the online things, okay, there's synchronous and asynchronous. So you can have building blocks where you meet with people in different ways, in different settings with different purposes. And there can be things where there are the asynchronous, where you collect things, where you give tasks whatsoever. And it's sometimes even called new blended, this when it's online, but an interesting mix of when you meet in a live fashion, synchronous, and when you have things embedded in asynchronous fashion, also often called in an LMS, in a learning management system. Questions about other things about the block. So how much effort is possible for people online and for young people or participants of a training course, youth workers, etc. Should it be a recurrent format? Should it be every Monday at 6 in the evening? Or should it be half days? Should it be over 2 weeks, over 4 weeks? So understanding what is feasible and good and what not online. And because obviously one full day in a conference cannot be one full day online on Zoom, because people cannot focus with their attention. So what is the reality, and what building blocks do we have? What possible formats do we have when we design online and blended activities? Then, as I already said, the effort, understanding how much effort is possible for participants, but also for the team, and what team composition do you need? So you need, it's how much also money do you charge to a contractor if they say, we want you to facilitate half a day online, but what does it mean? How much work is this really? And how can you compare it with residential, the effort of working in residential settings? Team composition, you need other people, you need the tech support. Resource production is important. It depends, of course, always on the objective of the online events, but for educational purposes, very often a resource production is very helpful, suitable. Then understanding that, as I said already, it's not simply transforming something residential online, but understanding that designing and facilitating learning online is simply an own way, an own type of learning with advantages, with strengths and limitations, and to understand what can be done, what cannot be done. So people start exploring. So what we really love, for instance, at our training courses is the informal moments, what we talk in coffee breaks, or when we hang out in the evening together. Up to what degree is this possible or not online? Or should we simply not try to do it because it's simply not the strength of an online format? What about experiential learning? Is online only about talking to each other? Is online only about information and decisions? Because very often in the beginning, the expectation of people when going to an online event was, I will listen, I will get information. So what else can you do online? For instance, for experiential learning, then trying out, okay, can you mix it? Can you, for instance, have an experience in real life and then meet online and debrief it? So have the second part of the experiential learning cycle online, or the other way around. What if we create online experiences and talk about it in residential settings? So playing with all these kind of mixtures. What are other advantages? What could be strong things of online? Not just saying, oh God, we have to go online, but what could be an opportunity here? For instance, inclusion, big topic. Yeah, and of course, many things to be careful with, and many things where online is not good for inclusion, but sometimes it even brings some advantages for inclusion. For instance, geographic inclusion. So what if we now have the possibility to, for instance, not need to travel? How can we then include more people and more diverse people and from more different regions and experiences? Or what is the chance for gamification and fun online? Another thing, what is, for instance, one advantage that that we have in online learning is the ability to offer something for different learning paths. It should always be non-formal learning, that we don't just cater for one type of learner, but for different ones. But in online settings, it is often surprisingly strong how you can make different offers, different learning paths for different people. So those who like to talk, those who like to work in small groups, those who like to work in asynchronous fashion, those who just come for the information and don't want to interact, those who are really social learners, etc. So you can offer multiple learning journeys in these events. Another big thing, yeah, and what people also realized is the political dimension. So careful with, yes, it's good if we are proactive, we say, okay, we don't just complain, we say we embrace the opportunities of online, but also to be very clear that, yeah, this does not mean that you cut all the funding now because everything works online and we don't need to invest anymore in residential ones. So no, it's not either this or this, it's complementary. It's nice we discovered this, but we don't want to kill the good things from before. And of course, it's interesting to see what are the new lessons learned from all this. So many people found out, okay, some things can actually take place online and you don't need to travel. And that's even more ecologic. So for some things, no, this meeting can be done online, or this decision can be done online and does not require, for instance, a physical meeting. What was also a strong impact on the community was on the implication of the work reality. I mean, teachers can talk a lot about this when they had to, for instance, work from home and teach kids in remote schooling. So for international youth work trainers, it was the same, who are often freelancers. Very practical things, for instance, losing jobs. Things get canceled last minute and you cannot replace it, or things get postponed. So theoretically, you don't lose it, but you still lose the income at that time. So then there was, for instance, a review of contracts. So saying, okay, we actually need to start talking about having cancellation clauses in our working contracts to have a chance, you know, to have a bit of security also as freelancers here. I see I'm horrible over time, so I'll just say the most important things. Participation, that was a big thing then. The old prejudice, oh my God, online learning is boring. How can you engage participants? And what means participation? What means participate? How much effort would you have in there? What is online culture? In the beginning, how do you deal with it when people turn off the camera? What does it mean? Yeah, in the beginning, some trainers said, please turn off your camera. Later, some people understood, no, it's also, some people feel safer like this and we need to learn. We can encourage people, but we need to learn that it's also very okay for some people to turn off the camera. We need to accept also that there is a big Zoom fatigue, for instance. Right now, it's a huge Zoom fatigue and it's very hard. It's impressive how many people are joining this event, because in the last months, it has been very hard to run online events and recruit people for it. About the participation, that there is a shift in power relation also, because before, when people meet physically, it's another thing how people are in the room than if everybody just has, for instance, this little box on Zoom. It was very interesting. I talked to somebody from the ministry and she told me it's interesting when they have the meeting with the commission, because the guy who before was this huge alpha male with the loud voice and many people felt a bit intimidated and didn't like it, then was sitting in the kids' room. He was at home and he had to use his kids' room, and it was just, he had the same space like all the others, and you saw he's just in his kids' room, and it was complete power shift. But a bit about how to keep people engaged, how to engage participants. One thing that we learned is that there is a funnel of participation, a funnel, this thing that goes from big to small. So from recruiting to participants, selecting participants, to who joins then the meeting. And if it's an ongoing meeting, who will be until the very end, you lose many people on the way. So it's not like you select 30 and 30 will show up and in the end you will have 30. So to understand the funnel of participation, and also that participation is not ongoing. When you have people traveling internationally, of course they come to the plenary room. They cannot just hide in their room. But with these online meetings, you need to accept that There are some people showing up, some others not, because they need to mix it more also with the work and life reality, so that participation needs to be seen very differently. That it's very important to keep the learning environment simple and familiar, so that people don't get confused with too many tools. And if it's an ongoing recurrent thing, that's very clear where to find what and what has which function. Like in a residential setting, that you know in your classroom where is what, how is the setup, or you know what's the training room, where's private areas, etc. The same when you make the online space, that it's familiar with clear functionality for what. As I said already, to allow for different learning paths, to be needs-based and to relevance of the learner. Because of course, in international mobilities, let's be honest, it was not always just for the topic. There's a whole package behind a youth exchange and behind an international training course. So of course, it's also for the traveling, for the friendships, for touristic part, for fun, etc. What of this can you offer and what not online? So let's be realistic of what we can offer. And sometimes participation can also be supported if there's a relevance for the person, not just in terms of topic, but because through the participation, something else is unlocked. Yeah, a certificate that is needed, access to certain people. So to think, what is the interest of the people joining online, and not just the information. That it's very helpful when you have high quality and accessible resources, visual aids, etc. This presentation is of course not an example for it, but we will send you something afterwards. It depends highly on the composition of group of learners, that fun and gamification can help, element of surprise, bit of gamification, challenges, rewards, leaderboards. And what I also found for myself, it's always helpful to work in a team, that you're not the only facilitator of learning, but that you have a team, that you offer different types of facilitation, but also a team that supports each other. And of course, you can always ask for feedback in the process or even in the design. Ask for feedback of your target group or involve them even in the design. What else have we observed? That there's a change of culture, that participants, learners, but also facilitators of learning have upskilled and changed the culture. It's now very normal for many people to go on Zoom. People have understood how it is, how to use these tools. There's a huge difference now in how these tools are used, in how people behave online, also how the chat is used, that you read things before. If you need to take decisions at the meeting, don't use the meeting to actually see the information, but process the information. And then that people build up their competences. So competence development was very important for everybody, and of course also for facilitators of learning. And here some resources again for you that might be useful. First of all, quite fresh, there is a competence framework for digital skills, DIGCOMP. It's actually this one. Yeah, and this is not just for facilitators of learning, but in general, digital skills. So they define 5 areas: information and data literacy, communication, collaboration, digital content creation, safety, and problem solving. And with this also come assessment tools. So you can assess yourself and see how are your digital skills. Another thing is competence assessment in general and working with competence frameworks. For trainers and facilitators of learning, there is, for instance, the European Training Strategy competence model for trainers working at international level. And there is a nice tool called Appraiser that allows you to assess yourself according to these competences for international youth work trainers, ask for external feedback, and define a development plan out of it. So competences was another big topic, and competence development. Yeah, to leave some time for the questions still, I will skip all the memorable moments I witnessed. Just one thing to say from the moments that were for me memorable is that one thing is that inclusion can work and intimacy can work online. I've had very, very impressive experiences where people got very close and shared very deeply online. So it's not impossible. It's not just to receive information. I've seen very deep sharing and vulnerability working online. I have seen inclusion working online. So for instance, running an on-arrival training for Solidarity Corps volunteers, and 2 of them were blind, and we managed the online training and it went really well. Playfulness. And about the open questions I have for myself, I will just take one maybe. it's the community. I find it still very tricky questions where to establish communities. So you need to always ask a community, where's their preferred place? It's a whole own thing for working with young people to see where you find young people, but I find it also challenging for communities of practice. So where is the best community of practice for a certain professional area, for inclusion workers, for whatsoever? Big debates, because there's a lot of resistance to digital tools, and then there's so many preferences also. So some people prefer Facebook, some prefer Slack, some prefer Discord, some don't want to know anything about this. Yeah, so that's a big question for me. Where can the community building take place online and stay active and stay empowering each other? Yes, I stop here to still leave time, of course, for questions. Sorry for this very frontal attack.
I think that's all right. Thank you very much for the presentation. So this is a quick message for our participants. If you have any question, now is the moment. If you want to type it in the chat and I can read it out loud. If you want to raise your hand, I can also give you the floor to speak. If you need 5 minutes to like process information and then be able to start articulating questions, just let us know. I also have next to me different questions that you were answering on the registration. So I can also start with one that actually got our attention. That is, Marcus, what do you think of the metaverse?
The metaverse, well, first of all, hi, Irina, and hi, also, I see several people greeting me also. Thank you to the people. The metaverse, I think this is super interesting. Yes, I also noticed this question. So technology is advancing, and often the utopias we have or dystopias we have, they were extreme. We either, when we predict the future, often it's about either dystopia, yeah, like 1984 or something, or this ideal, fantastic future. And the reality is often in the middle. What happened now with COVID is that some trends that have been predicted have been super accelerated. So it has always been predicted that man and not man, but human and machine merge more. And we have so much already of, we live so much online. It's super important. And it's not just abstract, because for the brain, it doesn't matter if you see what happens online or interact in real world. In the end, it's just information coming in and out. And when you see that people even commit suicide because of cyber mobbing, then you see how much effect it has, what happens online on people. So this trend of merging our spheres of existence is accelerated. And we have now this, everybody, not everybody, but many of us have their mobile phone always with us. We have this little computer with us, and we have it so many times in our hand, it's almost part of our body. So we're always connected to these online spaces and this sphere of existence. The metaverse will be, again, a full deepening of this immersion. And I see it very critical, although I'm a big fan of technological innovation. But first of all, social media plays a role that we really need to very critically review. And a big problem is the bubbles, the information bubbles. We thought the problem is lack of information. Now with the internet, we know it was not lack of information, but it's curation of information. It's now what's happening is that there's such an information overflow, and there's no clarity on authorities in information anymore, that everything is equally valid, which is horrible, because we lose our faith in science, we confuse science with opinions, and we see the effects currently here, and polarization in society, etc. And fake news is a huge problem. And this on metaverse can be a lot worse, because you just see what the metaverse will want you to see. So you have these classes, you immerse more, and then you see product placements just customized for you. You might even see fake people done by AI that were just introduced there to advertise a product for you. So this thing of that we get lost in our bubbles will get even stronger. And so it's incredibly important then to have some kind of benchmark and regulations so that people do not just get lost in their bubbles, but that we have some reference as a society, and also to have critical thinking and clarity of who provides what information. And the other big critique I have is we leave too much in the hand of companies. There are some big companies that have more budget than whole countries. And this thing like the metaverse, it's coming, we cannot change it. And it will have such a huge impact on our lives. Why do we leave this to companies? society, democracy, governments need to have such a stronger say in this. It's crazy at the moment how much we leave to companies in things that massively shape life and society and economy. So interesting development, but really to be seen very critical, and regulation is needed, and big danger of bubbles and fake news. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I see another one. I like this type of questions because they always bring you to one side of the situation, and then there's a lot of room for improvement. So what was the worst digital facilitation you ever saw, and why?
Okay.
It's like, it cannot get worse than that. Like, you can just get like room for improvement from here.
Oh, wow. Personally, what I don't like, but that's only really personal. What's for me, when I get facilitated, when I'm a participant, what I dislike is when I get put in a breakout room and I have the feeling it's just because people try to buy time, that it's not relevant what we do in the breakout room, or even that the size of the breakout room is not good, and then I like wasting my time. And when I facilitate, I'm always super considerate about the size and composition of breakout rooms so that it's beneficial for people. But one really bad thing I've seen that stayed in my mind was in a meeting of national agencies with the European Commission, and the European Commission had horrible connection problems. And the national agencies really, really wanted finally this information from Commission that they need for their work. And there was finally a chance to talk to the people they need to talk to. And these people constantly had connections problem, and people got so frustrated. And we managed, but it was hard to contain, because in real life, use humor and you read the room, you see what's happening. To read an online room is a lot harder. So we managed with humor and everything, but that was a very strong situation of strong feelings, and it was not easy to contain, to hold the space in this. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I have also a question from Adela saying, if you could choose one single online tool or app for youth workers, which one would that be?
Yeah. I'm not getting sponsored by any company. If yes, I would have an easy answer. But I'm sorry, this is not an answer to make it easy, but it really depends on the purpose of what you're doing and the target group. So is the purpose of your online intervention, is it educational? Is it collaboration? Is it dissemination? Is it advocacy? This will depend. And who is your target group? So, but I can say that personally, my favorite tool at the moment, but I'm not saying it's the best, just I love using it. I love using Miro at the moment because it's great, the visuals you can do and the type of collaboration you manage. And from youth workers, what I hear from youth workers in Vienna, what they love to use in their work with young people directly is a lot of streaming, Twitch, for instance, and to have joint gaming nights, joint movie watching nights, joint karaoke via streaming platforms like Twitch. But I would really not recommend one single one.
Thank you. I guess now people will have to think a little bit about that. How do you think the inclusion project can deal successfully with the new COVID situation?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I said before, I see some possibilities for inclusion with the digital and online dimension. Also, I've also seen working on mental health issues, which was mentioned by Didi before, working well online, also therapy working online, etc. Therapy is not youth work, but it just came to my mind because I saw that also coaching, therapy works online, and also youth work. There's a chance for geographic inclusion, definitely. Where we need to be careful is with the new possible divide, because COVID also magnified some divides we anyway had in society. So some things got stronger. A lot of polarization is happening. And so there is also a digital poorness, so not everybody has an undisturbed place. I'm always so sorry for kids who have remote learning and don't have an undisturbed place, or need to share their laptop, or have the shouting father in the background. And it's really, I'm so sorry for these kids. So I think it's really important to make sure people have access to the resources, and not to make online or digital work a new factor of discrimination. It has potential for inclusion, but it can also be a factor of discrimination. So we need to be very mindful, I think.
Thank you. I see Ingrid also posted a question in the chat. I don't know, Ingrid, if that also answered yours.
Yes, digital divide, poor internet. Exactly.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, agree.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Oh, okay. Hello, Marcus. So my question is, yes, I'm doing now a research with my colleague, Dunia Patochnik, on access to use services during COVID. And you talked about the inclusion. Maybe you have some ideas or some sharings or some reflections about the access. Of course, I understand this idea of the digital divide and that the access is not equal, but maybe you have also some other observations or ideas.
Well, two things. One thing is that mostly this is a matter dealt with on national or regional level. So we are talking here just about European cooperation projects. So there are national and regional policies that need to tackle this. If we talk, however, now about international schemes like Erasmus or Solidarity Corps, what I can tell you is that there is a very big awareness and willingness to invest in inclusion. They don't force you to it, but if you want to include this in your projects, there is also funding possible for this, and there are support structures such as, for example, let me post one. There are Salto resource centers, and there is one for inclusion and diversity, and one that is specifically for Eastern Partnership region. And they also have many resources and provide support and training opportunities. So it's worth always checking these resources as well.
Hi, Julia. It's okay to speak? Hi,
Sure.
Hi, Marcus.
Hi,
It's
Terry.
great to meet you. I know I'm pushing, I shouldn't say this, was guys being rebels in the UK, still wanting to be part of Europe. But it's quite interesting what you're saying. And I think one of the things that Zoom has done is allowed us, and I know Mark asked this question to someone, it's brought youth workers together from all over Europe and the world, because I've had the opportunity of being involved that I wouldn't have even met some people. And I think what Boris has done here is he hasn't realised what he has done is create a more stronger link with Europe. I also think it's very important on digital youth work to think of young people, because their voices, with it being digital, is not easy all the time. They might be good at techno, but sometimes they lack the courage to speak out on Zoom. And quite often I'm not worried about when they don't put the cameras on, as long as if they say the question through chat or anything. And I think it's really important we listen to what young people really say, because I think, and you probably learned this as a trainer, so many people have been hit so hard by the COVID with mental health and their own well-being. And I think this has been a fantastic opportunity for us to join together as youth workers, to share our, you know, whatever level we're at. I mean, I'm only just a youth worker and a semi-retired one at that. But I think it's important that we do, I'm not good at techno, but I think it's important that to keep this connection going. And I think Julie and the guys that have put this together, I don't know. I've only found out by email. So, you know, that, and it's important that we keep it going. And, you know, so I think training's important for digital, but I think also for young people, it is very impossible for a lot to be included sometimes. It's more of a speech than a question, isn't it? Sorry, Julie.
That was lovely. Thank you so much. And I can only fully agree. Yes.
Does anyone have any other questions that would like to ask right now? Because if not, maybe I can also start closing.
Don't forget the fun part of it. I will say that, Marcus. I say this to everyone. that we've lost through youth work: the smile and the fun. Always remember, the fun is the most important thing in Europe, and the smile is always something for people. Thanks anyways. Thanks as well.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, so I don't see any other questions or remarks in the chat. I don't know if, Marcus, you feel like there's something else that you want to say?
No, thanks a lot. Just that we will provide the links and the bullet points of what was said today, because it was very frontal. So you can also, and I believe there will also be a recording, no? You said, Julia, so that people can also see the
Yes,
recording.
there's a recording. We are also live on Facebook, as I can see on my screen. So you can always go to YMCA Europe Facebook to go back and watch this workshop again, or you can also check your follow-up email to see again, to watch again this video. So I think from my side, I'm just missing to say thank you everyone for joining us. I'm gonna share with you a couple links before you leave. Please don't leave yet. Give me a couple 30 seconds. I'm gonna share with you 2 links that I think would be useful for you. I don't know if you remember from the beginning of this session, but this is part of a digital community of youth workers. So in case if you're not part of this digital community yet, I'm gonna share with you a link in the chat. In case you are interested in applying, we have monthly topics where we share resources, we share tools, we ask each other questions. We are organizing these monthly events with invited speakers, so feel free to check it. Also, Diliana is sharing the email in case you have other questions or you want to apply. I'm also sharing a link to an evaluation form. In case you want to leave any comments or any ideas for the next event, feel free to leave your ideas there so we can also take it into account for the next time. And now I will just ask you to turn off your laptops, let your eyes relax, have a shower, eat something, grab a snack, I don't know, go back to your shopping list for Friday. Now you're free to do that. And thank you very much for joining us. I hope you have a lovely week, a lovely weekend. I think it's already, I can already say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Is it too early to say that, or am I allowed to already say that for like anyone that celebrates New Year's Eve and Christmas? So yeah, thank you everyone. Goodbye.